I hope everybody's here. I know that I didn't give anybody time to get on the live. Once again, I'm on my way to the gym, but I thought I would just go live right quick. It is 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the date is Thursday, I think it's November the 21st, 2024. So I just wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow is the anniversary of John Fitzgerald Kennedy Sr.'s assassination. Tomorrow will mark, I believe, it's 61 years since the death of JFK Sr. So I'm asking all of our soul family to please pray for the Kennedy family, any of those that may remain. But most importantly, at the top of my list is please pray for JFK Jr., also known as David Quigley. I love him, and yes, I support him, and I support his story that his father was assassinated in his presence. And those of you who know David Quigley, he has come forward in recent years to say he is the real John F. Kennedy Jr. And a lot of people don't believe it, but some people support his claim. He did write a book called Stolen Identity. I would encourage everybody to read that book, whether the story sounds fascinating to you or not, because in that book, he goes into detail to talk about how the elites, bloodline families, of course, have enslaved the planet, and you all know this. And he does let us know that the Kennedys, they are a bloodline family. All presidents are related and their bloodline related. The only one some people say that's not blood related is President Donald Trump, but John F.K. Jr. did say that Donald Trump was actually his cousin. Now, he came forward in his book, Stolen Identity, to say that the elite do horrible things to children, that there are children in a deep underground military bases, and that these bloodline families are very, very close. They intermarry, and they have done a lot of things in politics, in the finance industry, and in other industry, Hollywood, etc., to manipulate the mind of people all across the globe. He also talks about how many of the stars, including the ones that you all love and adore, are actually put in place to lead the masses astray, which by now, if we don't know this, then we probably just haven't tapped in. So Hollywood is falling. Social media is falling and will fail. Mainstream media is falling, but that's not the major reason I'm coming on today. I have come on to let you know that President Trump and more importantly, the military and people standing behind him are preparing us for some type of shutdown and an emergency broadcast system announcement. This is a national security breach that we've been going through. And I did make that announcement 2 days ago that President Trump declared a national emergency. He announced and confirmed that we were experiencing a national emergency. He said he would deploy the military to handle the security breach that has occurred in our nation and to secure the borders. Now, I'm going to go a little further and saying that announcement and confirmation of him saying that he is preparing for and declaring a national emergency was to not only put us on notice that he's securing the borders, but he's also going to deport a whole lot of, probably more than 11 million. I reported 11 million illegal aliens in our country. But let me take that a step further and say, when he says he's going to deploy the military and get the military involved into getting out or exiting these people from our country, I see a soft disclosure that he's going to protect the whole nation and prepare us for some type of system announcement that will allow the world to know that the Brunson case has been decided upon. This would be an excellent time for that to happen, since this is the 61st anniversary of the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy Sr. on tomorrow. So another thing I want to bring to our attention is that Biden apparently is trying to instigate World War III. And this is a time where that cannot be tolerated, because every single nation, as a matter of fact, 209 nations have agreed behind the scenes to have global peace. So that Project Sandman was about more than saying we're going to all go to the gold standard and drop the United States dollar. That was actually a statement that all nations agreed to have world peace and to all become sovereign. I can prove that by showing you, and you guys know this, that all nations have already repatriated their gold back to themselves from the Vatican. All nations have already capitulated to Donald Trump when he was making that tour a few years ago, including their leader, the Pope, capitulated to him. The fake Queen Elizabeth capitulated to him. She's not the real Queen Elizabeth. The real Queen Elizabeth, I don't know if I'm supposed to say, we know who her bloodline is. I'll just say that I've actually interviewed her bloodline, the real Queen Elizabeth. Okay, but the fake Queen Elizabeth is gone. And this is just how we know that President Trump is the commander in chief, and he is the one that has been selected to take down the deep state. So President Trump tweeted that Biden is trying to instigate World War III. And what he meant by that is Biden has called upon Ukraine to strike Russia. And that could lead to some type of war, because what that did was that incensed all the Trump supporters. Okay, because Trump said, my presidency will end the war in Ukraine. Now, most people think that the war in Ukraine was just some, random war that Putin initiated against Ukraine. But we know that it wasn't a random war, but in fact, Putin was cleaning out the deep underground military bases in the Ukraine, exposing the money laundering, drug laundering, sex trafficking, and all those things that were going on in the Ukraine, because that was a cesspool for the elite to do all type of nefarious activities. So when Putin exposed that, Vladimir Putin being the president of Russia, then that incensed Joseph Robinette Biden, the 46th so-called president of the United States Incorporated. And what he did was, once he became angry about that exposure, because the Biden crime family was also participating in nefarious activities along with other elite families in the Ukraine, was that caused Biden to put sanctions on Vladimir Putin. And for you all who have followed me for some time, you know that that did not stop Vladimir Putin from exposing continuously all the things that were going on in Ukraine. And it also just further incensed James Comer, who is the chairperson the House Oversight Committee, to gather more evidence against Joseph Robinette Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and 385 members of Congress. And at the same time, you had the Brunson brothers, who were putting together a case and representing themselves, by the way, and they did a fabulous job. This case presenting against Joseph Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and 385 members of Congress. And that case was to be heard by the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court did not hear that case around 2020, saying that the Biden family and his administration had allowed for these illegal aliens, some well over 320,000, to be flown into our borders illegally, as well as allowing them to come across the borders on foot, on water, any old kind of way, by train, however they could get here. That made us very vulnerable to violence. It made us vulnerable to allowing unlawful people to vote. And it also allowed them to infiltrate our country, our every segment of our society and the workforce. It allowed them to take the resources from the people. It allowed them to do all type of nefarious things that compromise our freedoms and our sovereignty, prosperity, and peace. And we all were promised that this is supposed to be a God-given right for us to have prosperity and peace, life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. Well, Biden and his whole administration really just took away our freedoms by allowing these illegal aliens to breach our borders, as well as them participating in election fraud in the 2020 elections and 2022. So the Brunson brothers brought that case against the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court refused to hear that case. And so Lloyd Brunson took it upon himself to discover a loophole that will allow him to say, if you don't hear this case that we have brought against Joseph Biden, Vice President Harris, fake Vice President Harris, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and 385 members of Congress, then you all could be held for treason, because this case, a case of this magnitude, is proven that our nation has been at risk, and it would look like you all don't care that our people could be at risk, so you can face the highest penalty for huge and high TREASON. So then the liberals that were justices started to recuse themselves from the case, and they said, well, we're not going to hear the case. So a writ of memorandus was passed that said that Justice Clarence Thomas could single-handedly and independently hear the case himself. And then he went missing. Him going missing just meant that he didn't show up for hearings. He didn't report from home, because he indeed, allegedly, according to our intel, heard the case. And so he was in hiding and under military protection. Well, now is the time for the results of that Supreme Court case hearing to come out and let it be known and broadcasted that it was ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers. As such, Joseph Robinette Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and 385 members of Congress family have to step down. All of their credentials have to be removed, and they have to face military tribunals. Now, many of them have already faced military tribunals. Some of them are not really showing up. You see computer generated imagery. You see people wearing masks. Some of them have already faced the music, had their assets frozen, but some of them have not yet. So we need to bring them to justice, and we will. But this is the perfect time to do this while Biden is the fake Biden, because some people know that or believe that he actually passed in 2018 and that his actually the military performing a funeral. So we want to thank Derek Johnson, who is a former military man, for letting us know that according to the Art of War manual, that and that gun salute and that whole ceremony of the inauguration was actually his funeral. So, but we still had to allow these things to play out so that people can know how deep this corruption has been going on and for how long. So my point is, now is the time that, since this fake Biden guy, or whoever he is, masquerading as Joseph Biden, has instigated war by asking the Ukrainian people or the Ukrainian government to strike Russia with missiles, then everybody is on alert, and the Republicans are actually calling for the takedown and the removal of Joseph Robinette Biden. So again, the Republicans are asking for the removal of Biden because he's trying to cause World War III. At the same time, you have President Trump saying that he's declaring a national security. He's going to employ or deploy, I don't know the proper word, but use the military to secure the borders and to deport millions of illegal aliens here. And what I see is the groundwork and the stage being set for not only the borders being secured, but our cities and our states. And the last time I saw that happen was in March of 2020, when the cities and the states and the streets were secured, when the air was secured by the military, when the borders were secured. And that's when the last time President Donald Trump was in office. So I'm just encouraging you, family, to look at everything that's going on, put the pieces of the puzzle together. The Republicans are calling for the removal of Biden. Now, it's interesting that they're calling for the removal of Biden right now, but I really think this is an operation, and I can feel the Spirit of God moving on me to say, get your house in order and your ducks in a row. When I woke up this morning, I heard the Spirit say to me, don't go to work, get your house in order. So family, I'm encouraging you. What I mean by get your house in order, let me roll up my windows. Everybody don't need to know my business. If you have currencies, I desire for you to get them out, write down the currencies that you have, get them in order, categorize them, write out your humanitarian projects, look at them, go over them, talk to your family members, those of them that are on board with you and they understand and understand what's going on. Let them know that this is a time that we are going into a whole new era. We're also in the age of Aquarius. We just entered the age of Aquarius, I want to say yesterday or the day before. So a lot of things are going on. Let them know God is in control. The military is in control. our guardian angels are in control, and this is the time to get our houses together. This is the time for families to come together. Let them know that you are commanding that they get themselves together, that your bloodline is going to do right, that you're going to cause you want peace in your family, you want structure in your family, you want righteousness in your family, and command it to be so. Command it that if they want your help, you can tell them verbally or you can write it down. They have to abide by righteousness and the principles that you have set forth for your bloodline and for your family. Let them know you're not tolerating confusion, you're not tolerating unrighteousness, you're not tolerating chaos, but you are only allowing for peace, love, justice, and righteousness in your bloodline, in your family, and in your community, because we're raising up to a higher vibrational frequency, and the planet is ascending right now, and you are ascending with the planet. You're going to have upgrades in your body. You're going to have upgrades in your DNA. Your mentality is about to shift. You're going to do a whole paradigm shift where you're going to have a radical mind change towards peace, love, justice, and all those beautiful things. You're about to experience prosperity on a level that you've never experienced before. You're about to experience abundance at a very, very high level. So for those of you who believe in and support fasting, this will be a good time right before we get into celebrating. We're about to experience a great jubilee. Go ahead and fast. That means to refrain from food, and those of you who can refrain from anything that can keep your mind off of where you desire for your life and your family to go. So if it's entertainment that can keep your focus away from your goals, then abstain from entertainment for a few hours or 24 hours or a day or a couple days, whatever it takes to get your mind right, because abstaining from certain things will make your flesh decrease and the spirit man or the inner person, your higher self, increase and ascend in vibrations. It will open up your pineal gland, abstaining from certain things, and it will put you in alignment with the frequency of source or God. So God is a frequency. We just have to tune in. Source is a frequency. That's what source is. That's what God is, a high vibrational frequency. How can you tune into that? Refraining from certain music, certain foods, certain entertainments, certain things can put you in the God frequency and a source frequency so that you can receive messages from your higher self, from your ancestors, from your guardian angel, and from God. So I just wanted to come on and tell you, family, it's time to get our house in order. It's time to get excited. We're about to experience a radical change where things are going to go by really, really, really quickly. I want you to know I've been talking to people that I know, that I trust, that I really love. I talked to Princess Elizabeth Rodriguez, and she and I are on the same, frequency. We know that things are about to happen. Okay, things are about to happen. But before we allow this abundance to flood the planet, President Trump and the military that's in control and those guardian galactic forces that are working along with them have to secure the borders. They have to get things in place. They have to make sure that the military is doing their job. You may see them in the air and on the ground right now because President Trump already let us know this is a national security breach that we had experienced. He's declaring a national emergency. So I'm just telling you, family, I can feel this sense of urgency just to let you know that the last time we saw this happen was in 2020 when, the whole world was basically in their homes, unfortunately, away from their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But while a lot of things were going on in our faces, there were some things that were going on behind the scenes, like mass arrests and what else? What else was going on? People in communication, some of the prelates and so-called elites, the good ones, were making negotiations. Okay, we know a lot of nefarious things also happened in 2020 where they were, forcing people to take the so-called cure for that sickness that shut down the world. But if we see some type of military action and some type of I don't know if it'll be a quasi shutdown or a real shutdown, but we know there's supposed to be an emergency broadcast system announcement. I'm going to tell you that is going to be for our security, and that will be so that the president can allow for all the information that we need to hear to come on the phones, on the computer, on the television, and so that we can know what's been going on behind the scenes. And again, this is a great time for them to remove Biden, because he's trying to instigate World War III. But at the same time, we have the Brunson brother case that has reportedly been decided in favor of the Brunson brothers and against Joseph Robinette Biden and the whole Biden crime family. Now, it's not just the Brunson brother case that needs to be officially announced, but we need to hear about what James Comer found against Joseph Robinette Biden. And here's a precursor before he can even announce it officially. You can go to house.oversight.gov, which is the House Oversight Committee's website, or just Google House Oversight Committee website. And then in the search engine where you see that part of that website, you would see a magnifying glass, type in Biden, and you will see all the evidence and supporting documents and testimonies that James Comer, the head of the House Oversight Committee, has found and discovered against Biden. So it's a lot. It's a lot that is detailed in all of these pages and pages of that website, showing how he was involved in doing things to children, harvesting blood and organs, laundering money, making negotiations with the CCP, just a lot of things. But the good news about the CCP is that 400 million people defected from the CCP, the Communist K, Artie Pay of Ina Che. You know, I got to be careful when I'm trying to speak pig Latin, but you just look up CCP. 400 million people defected from that party 2 years ago. So I want you to stay encouraged. Again, tomorrow is the anniversary of John F. Kennedy Sr., his assassination. So that's another reason why we could hear some type of news or information come out around this time. And again, Biden is trying to instigate war. So Vladimir Putin has been very, very instrumental in the takedown of the deep state. Again, not only did he clean out the deep under military bases in the Ukraine and expose all the corruption and nefarious activities that were going on there, but he is also the one that was the trigger for 209 nations to stop trading with the United States dollar and use their own local currencies for trade, back their own country's currencies backed by gold. So if you recall, Project Sandman was an agreement, a secret agreement between 209 nations to, when triggered, stop trading with the United States dollar and use their own local currencies for trade that are backed by gold, and also to use silver and gold for trade. And that is very, very important and critical, because that secret agreement single-handedly destroyed the central banks. It single-handedly destroyed the Federal Reserve central banking system. And the United States incorporated the faux government that usurped authority from our republic, which is the lawful government here. So the republic is based on the law of the land, or constitutional law, or common law. And that's why some of my Moorish brothers tell me we called that whole operation, where they decided the 209 countries agreed to stop trading with the dollar. That's why they call it Project Sandman. Sand, speaking of the earth, the ground, the laws of the land, which is different from the laws of the water, admiralty law, maritime law. So again, Project Sandman was an agreement between 209 nations to, when triggered, drop the dollar and use their own local currencies backed by precious metals, silver, gold, palladium, platinum, and precious metals. So that trigger was Vladimir Putin cleaning out the deep underground military bases. So that was so important, because what had given the United States incorporated the fake government financial and economic hegemony was their agreement with Saudi Arabia to protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil. And then they would force all exporting nations to trade or get oil from Saudi Arabia and use the dollar. So we had petrodollar status. We had financial economic hegemony. The United States Incorporated did. And if countries decided that they didn't want to get oil from Saudi Arabia, or they didn't want to use the United States dollar, they wanted use their own currency or their own gold, before Project Sandman, then the United States Incorporated will put sanctions on those nations, or they would send war over there. Now, as a caveat, what happened is the United States would actually fund both sides of the war, put sanctions on those nations that didn't want to trade with the dollar, and then tell all countries you can't do business over there with those nations. Then people at the highest level of military, so-called elites, people in banking positions like CEOs, would then go to those war-torn countries and those countries that had sanctions, whose currencies were decimated by war or sanctions and had, they therefore experienced high inflation. These so-called elites would go over there, buy the country's currencies that would be deflated and decimated through war and sanctions while they were, now had a low rate, hold on to those currencies. And then they would wait for the United States military after the war to go back in, rebuild those countries, rebuild their infrastructure, and then those countries' currencies would then go back up in value or be reinstated back to their value, and the GDP would go back up in those countries, and then those people who had bought those countries' currencies that had been decimated through war will hold on to them. And then go to the bank and get an exchange rate, a higher exchange rate, because now the country's currencies have been reevaluated or reinstated, and they will become millionaires and billionaires overnight. If you want to see a so-called recent time period or when that happened, please look up the Kuwaiti War of 1991. You can type in or Google the Kuwaiti dinar revalued in 1991, and you will see a New York article come up, and you will see one more publication that will talk about how the Kuwaiti dinar revalued in the middle of the night when the electricity was off. Nobody knew about this except for the people who were holding the currencies. The people went in the bank while it was dark because the electricity was off everywhere else. And these elite people went in and cashed in their money and became millionaires, billionaires overnight. Okay. I happen to have interviewed a man who became a millionaire. It's a brother, because his brother was at a high level in the military and he had gotten that information in the 1990s. So the brother that I talked to, I didn't just interview him. I didn't interview him on my channel, but for myself, we became friends. And he was like, yeah, it really happened in 1991. He said, I became a millionaire. He said, I wish I had some type of money management experience, because, a lot of that money just went through my hands. He said, but my brother became a multimillionaire and he was wise about how he utilized his money. He said, now this time when this happens, I'm going to be a lot wiser. I'm going to study. I'm going to take lessons from wealth management experts, and I'm going to do some estate planning. I'm gonna get some trust. Well, he didn't do that before. But he said in 1991, a lot of people became millionaires, and I never told my family, he said, how I got my money, but unfortunately I lost it. And it's been a long time. So please Google 1991, the Kuwaiti dinar revalue, and you'll see that it's true. Some people became millionaires overnight. And then there's also a video out where President Trump is talking to a Fox News reporter, where he's saying that we protected South Korea, and we protected Iraq. We protected, certain countries and their safety. And he said, and we're going to make us pay. We're going to make them pay us. So the reporter was like, how are you going to make them pay you? You can't make them pay them. You can't force these countries to pay you. He said, he said, South Korea has already paid us $500 million. He said, and Iraq is going to pay us for protecting them through the war. He said, not only did we protect Iraq, he said, but we rebuilt their infrastructure. Hear my words. We rebuilt their infrastructure. Didn't I tell you through war, the United States military would fund both sides of the war, decimate their currencies, and then rebuild their infrastructure after the war? So Trump told this Fox reporter, we rebuilt their infrastructure in ways that rival anything we have here in America. He said, we built their railroad system. We rebuilt their entire infrastructure, and it looks better than anything we have we've ever seen in New York. He said, and they're going to pay us. And that's why we already, he said, President Trump says, billions of their dollars sitting in our banks right now. Now, if the currency revaluation wasn't real, if the global currency reset wasn't real, then there's no way in the world we'd have billions of their dollars, Iraqi money, sitting in our banks right now. President Trump is a money man. He has a degree in economics. He has a degree in business. Okay, I believe he went to the school of Wharton, business school of Wharton. But he's a businessman. So there's no way he would have billions of their dollars sitting in our banks if we weren't going to see a reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar and other country currencies after this war. So remember, there was an agreement between 209 nations to, when triggered, drop the dollar and use their own country's currencies for trade. Once that happened, when Vladimir Putin went to Ukraine to clean out all that filth that was there, again, Biden put sanctions on him. But then Vladimir Putin said, I'm not afraid of your sanctions. I'll stop trading with the dollar. I'm not scared. You're not going to do anything to me. I have my own military. And he knew he had those 209 nations backing him, because this has been agreed upon years ago. Then he dropped the United States dollar for trade, and he stopped trading with the dollar, and he used his own country's currency called the Russian ruble. You can look this up. 2022, the Russian ruble was the strongest performing currency in the world. And the reason is because he is the one that clapped back against Biden's sanction, and he started using the Russian ruble backed by precious metals. And he then encourage other nations to use his country's currency as well. Why? Because he was leading BRICS, the BRICS Union: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. You see how it all ties together? So once he stopped trading with the dollar, then he encouraged the whole BRICS Union: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to also stop trading with the dollar. And that's when news started coming out. Actually, I started reporting on it first of all the independent broadcasters, and I invited Andy Schechtman, the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, to come on my podcast, because I needed some support. And we discussed the BRICS moving, and we discussed how 85% of the population, world population, joined BRICS because Vladimir Putin inspired them to do so when he clapped back at Biden, trying to put sanctions on him. So Biden actually did him a favor. He did everybody a favor by putting sanctions on Vladimir Putin. Whereas before, when the United States Incorporated would put sanctions on Iraq, Kuwait, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, and all these other nations, they would just live in utter poverty. We would suffer because we're going to war to them. We're losing our sons, our husbands, our daughters, our family members to war. Our family members are coming back traumatized. I've had uncles that were in the Vietnamese war, the war against Vietnam, came back psychologically and emotionally traumatized, doing, drugs at some level because they couldn't get the murders and death out of their mind. They lost best friends. They had to do things that they weren't proud of, just because the United States Incorporated. They have to pay for this. So I had lost family. I had a brother that was a part of the Iraqi war. They were traumatized. People had to go through this. So when Biden put sanctions on Putin, he led 209 nations to stop trading with the dollar. And then the BRICS Union got stronger. Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, and BRICS became known as Sal BRICS. And then every nation, just one by one, made the official announcement that they had dropped the dollar. Because remember, they already made the agreement, and the union just got stronger. In the meantime, here in the States, 45 states, over 45 states, the Sound Money Defense League now is saying is more than 45 states have dropped the dollar and as the United States world currency. And they what did they do? They reclaimed silver and gold as money by by repealing or removing the state sales tax from the sales of precious metals. So America is on board with the gold standard. America is on board with world peace. America is on board in agreement with BRICS. America is on board with Trump leading this charge to take down the deep state. America is on board with all of the justice that we said we've been waiting to see. We're about to realize that and see that happen in our timeline. So that's it, family. I'm getting phone calls from my family, so it could be important. I need to go. I came to encourage you, to let you know that President Trump is preparing us for an emergency broadcast system announcement. He already told us and confirmed that we're under a national emergency. He's going to deploy or deport millions of illegal aliens or illegal people that are in our country. The Republican Party is causing for the removal of Biden because he's instigating World War III or trying to start it. But the military and some so-called intel sources have been saying a scary event is necessary. I don't call it a scary event. I call it maybe a black swan event. And look up black swan event where you say it's a notable event that could happen that will cause the military to be employed or deployed to remove certain nefarious forces. And usually doing black swan events are right before you have a complete disruption of the monetary system. The people in power will have some type of event to usher that in. And we saw that happen in 2020. So I wrote an article before the global shutdown, before the pandemic happened in March. I actually put it on my Facebook page because I have been saying it for years that we've been told there's going to be a black swan event, it's going to shut down the world, we're going to have mass arrests. And, it looked like I was making this stuff up. But somebody by the name of Ed screenshot it and sent it to this independent news source called Rumor Mills, and it went viral before the shutdown. I was like, get ready. We're going to have a shutdown. We're going to have a black swan event, because God moved on me to write that article, right? Because I had been hearing this. God spoke to me. And sure enough, days later, the whole planet shut down. Okay. So I'm going to put that article in the description section of my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel. I already put it on my Facebook page. You can look it up at Dr. Kia Pruitt. That's my professional page, or DRKIA space PRUITT is my personal page. So you can see the article, and I put the link to where somebody to Rumor Mills because somebody had put it there, and they happened to put it there the day before the whole world shut down. And I had written the article at the beginning of March. So God is impressing upon me to tell you all that we're about to go to a whole new golden era, which I've been telling you this, but some things could happen to cause some people to be a little caught off guard, but we know that good things are about to occur. So that's it, family. This is Thursday, November the 21st, 2024. It is now 4:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life you desire and deserve. Some wonderful, wonderful things are about to happen, family. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, get your currencies together, get your plans together, get your family in order, and take courage, and just know that everything's going to be well. Everything is going to be well, family. So I don't want you to get worried. There's not going to be any World War III. We're not going to allow that to happen. All that's been neutralized behind the scenes, but they may have to shut things down, like our borders and maybe some cities and states. I don't know. But an emergency broadcast system announcement has to be made so that everybody can know what's really going on. Somebody saying there are a lot of Dr. Kia Pruitt YouTube channels that are fake, and social media links and pages that are fake, family. And I apologize for that. There's nothing I can do about that. I've tried reporting them, but people just keep pushing them up. Somebody says Mike P said that the Brunson case is dead, etc. I would say, somebody said you're telling me to keep my vibrations high, and I'm trying to, but he said it's a lie. Well, ask your inner self and your higher self what you know is true. And prepare for the best. Okay. Also prepare for, it could be in a shutdown. So get your water, get your food, your supplies. At the same time, keep your vibration high by listening to positive information, positive music, because no matter what's fake and what people are saying is not true, you can command whatever it is you desire to happen. Command prosperity, command the Biden whole administration be taken down. Command Trump to or the alliance to move forward quickly. Command whatever it is that you need to happen in your life to happen right now, and it will, because you have power. So while you're commanding it, attach joyous emotions to it. I mean, feel it, see it, smell it, taste it, experience it, and think about it. Write it down what it looks like and go about your day as if it is occurring. And that means it will happen on your timeline. Somebody else's timeline, maybe the Brunson case isn't real, then they're living like it, and everything that they hope will happen that's bad or think about is happening is really playing out in their life. But it's not for you and me, because we know that our power, and we're using it to usher all these wonderful things in. So family, I wish I can go longer, but my family's trying to call me. Peace. Take care. Stay encouraged. Bye-bye. I love you. And make sure you get everything in order. List out all your currencies. Write them down, family. Get your humanitarian projects in order. Start looking for your house, and just prepare your heart and mind for whatever could come out in the time to come, whether it's an emergency broadcast system announcement, whether it's military tribunals that we see or play out on the screen. Just go ahead and prepare your mind to receive that. Go ahead and prepare your heart for an ascension of the planet and an ascension in your spirit, because you're about to experience a whole spiritual reawakening. You're going to experience joy on such a high level. You're going to experience peace and prosperity on a high level. You're going to finally see justice for them taking out and unaliving our family members. You're going to see justice for the deep state trying to do horrible things to us to enslave the planet. Finally, we're living in an era of justice. So command it to be so, and it is so. Amen. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.